order, and will rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Julie, you want to take the roll call?
Sure. Dawn Vanny.
Here.
Jan Schweddy.
Here.
Michelle Blythe.
Here.
Marilyn Early.
Here.
Madam Mayor, I move for approval of the agenda as presented.
Second?
Second.
Question?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And we'll just also note that Councilmember Deborah Nelson and Heather Logan have excused absences this evening. So, okay, so this is an exciting night for us. We
Yes.
get to become a whole body again. So, with the swearing in of Yvonne Geraldo Van Orman, and I believe Steve Peifel, are you the one performing this swearing in? Hey, well, let's give these people a ceremony.
You can get up and walk around.
Yeah, if there are photographers in the audience, feel free to.
Yeah.
I'm the one that.
Yeah, that's what he thinks, you guys. We let him think that.
Don't trip.
Would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you are a citizen or lawful permanent resident of the United States and the state of Washington? That you are legally qualified to assume the office of city council member in and for the city of Arlington, Washington? That you will support the Constitution and laws of the United States and the state of Washington? And that you will faithfully, diligently, and impartially discharge the duties of this office to the best of your judgment, skill, and ability? If so, please say, I do so swear.
I do so swear.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So does she have a name?
Yeah, she's
She should
Oh,
sit over
okay.
here.
I just assumed it was hers.
Congrats.
Oh.
Thank you.
Yvonne's going to take her official seat now.
Still posing for a photo.
And for those of your family members who aren't here, it is live streamed on YouTube, so they'll be able to watch on
Thank
YouTube.
you. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so we're starting out with a special presentation this evening. Always love to see it when we have Judge Rencourt on the agenda to give us an update on the court.
Excellent. Thank you very much for having me.
Good evening.
Thank you. Good evening. I just had some handoffs, if I can just pass those around.
Thank you.
Look at it. There's three.
I got it. It took me a minute.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, those are just stickers.
I think they're.
There's three.
Oh, they got stapled in the street. Oh, okay,
Oh, I
sorry.
apologize. I should have been stupid.
Oh.
Next time you know who's going to be stupid. Okay.
have 3 sheets. No, the back one, they were all stapled together. Instead. Okay.
First of all, I'd like to just say thank you, first of all, for having me, but also for our continued relationship with the city of Arlington. We're very much enjoying your presence in our court, but we're also very grateful for the use of the space down at Howler Park. It's been just a tremendous asset to us to have that space to do jury selection. We would not have been able to proceed with jury selection. For those of you who've been to our courthouse, it's not a large space. So we did hold probably our last one at Howler Park this last week, or week before. So last week, and I expect to hopefully move back to the courthouse here with our next term, which would be the next week. So again, thank you very much for that space and for the relationship with the court. I just wanted to give you kind of an update of some things that have been going on at the court. For those of you, I think most of you are aware, but we have a relicensing program that we piloted at our courthouse here in Arlington. It's the only one in the county. And we recently, this past year, or just found out that we received the 2021 probation program of the year for our relicensing program for the state of Washington. So we're pretty proud of that. And it's been really exciting to see the impact that we've had. We've had about 75 folks who've now come through and been relicensed through our program. So we're talking some folks that this is their first driver's license, 40, 50-year-old people who are now legally driving in the state of Washington. So we're really, really proud of that. We're also been really busy. As you can see, I give you a couple of handouts. I just wanted to show you the black and white pie chart shows you, that's a breakdown of our criminal filings within the court for the last 3 years. Over on the left-hand side, it just is the actual numbers. But what you can see is the city of Arlington has had a tremendous impact on the criminal filings. You're well over the 50% mark of our criminal filings for our courthouse. So when we added those cases, we've been changing and pivoting and adding calendars at different points to make sure that we can accommodate the calendars, but we've really enjoyed that change. With that, I also wanted to give you a chart that shows you the color pie chart. While you're not, this isn't directly involved with our contract, but this is just to kind of show you what's been going on in the community. We've had a tremendous increase in our, you can see that the percentage of filings in our court for protection orders is significant. And we actually expect this to increase. The city of Marysville will no longer be taking protection order filings, so we'll be having those filings. It's a change in the statute, has no longer allowed the cities to take those individually, so we'll be seeing those in the Cascade Division. I think a lot of those, I've already seen a lot of folks with Marysville addresses and things that are filing within the court, so I expect that will continue to have an impact on us. There was some change in legislation with protection orders that has prompted the Superior Court to add an additional commissioner for the Superior Court. We expect we're going to see also an increase in the number with that change in legislation at the district court level. And again, I think a lot of those are going to be coming to Arlington with Marysville not taking them anymore. So we can expect to see an increase in that area. So the final chart that I have there is just to kind of show you what our workload breakdown is between the different judicial officers throughout Snohomish County. And what you can see is that the caseload per judicial officer now in Arlington at the Cascade Division is significantly higher than in the other divisions that we have. So the bottom line is that we're going to be seeking an additional judicial officer to serve our community here. Right now we have myself as the sole elected judge, and then we have one appointed commissioner who serves half-time here and half-time for our in-custody Everett-based calendars. So we're hoping to switch that half-time position into a full-time judicial position and move the commissioner down to Everett to assist with filings down in the Everett division. We have put together our priority package that will go before the council in this budget session, so we're hopeful. I've met with Nate Nearing and discussed it with him. He understands that there is that need. I've also met with Megan Dunn from the council as well to try and begin that process of getting some support for that additional judicial officer. Between the criminal filings and the protection orders, we really think it is important to have an additional judicial officer up here full-time. Regardless of whether or not we get another judicial officer, we will see a change in our in the bench here in come next January. Commissioner Leo, who's our part-time commissioner here and part-time in Everett, is going to be running unopposed for the Evergreen Division, so he'll be moving out to Monroe as an elected judge in January. So we will see a different face, and I probably would like the opportunity to come and introduce them to you guys as well once we know who that's going to be, whether or not, again, it's going to be an elected judge or a change in our commissioner position. Does anyone have any questions? I know I talk really fast.
From your position, are you seeing a big difference with our embedded social worker? I know we have in our city, and I know that, well, I'm a little concerned because the sheriff's department is eliminating that, but from the bench, are you feeling like it's made a difference?
Oh, I've had I can see direct individuals who come in with either from the social worker from either from Marysville or from Arlington at different points. It's definitely making a tremendous difference for those people. The success for those folks is, you can't compare when they have that sort of support. I'm shocked at some of the things that they'll do for some of those folks to make sure that they're successful. It's absolutely tremendous. We have, it's one of our feeder sources too for our relicensing program. So that's a partnership that we have, is that we take people who are either coming from, they either contact the courts directly or go through a probation officer or the embedded social workers or some sort of program that's providing services in the community. So we want to have those folks that are trying to reach out to get services and have made a step. But yeah, the embedded social workers are a big part of that. For sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, no doubt.
I have a quick question
Yes.
about, it's concerning about the protection orders, that there will be, courts that will no longer give protection. I mean, these are really vulnerable people seeking protection.
I just need to clarify, that's just that the legislature has taken away the authority from the cities to do, that's not them making a decision that they won't do it. It's the legislature, the change in the law is that they're not allowed to be filed in the municipal courts any longer, so.
Right. But we'll still have, and district court will still
Oh,
have.
absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely, for sure.
great, thank
Yeah,
you.
absolutely, and it's, like I said, the superior, so they can be filed, all types of orders except for vulnerable adult petitions can be filed in either the district court or the superior court. And like I said, the superior court has already had the council get an additional position because they think there's going to be such an increase with the change in legislation.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody have any questions for Judge today?
Thank you.
Congratulations on the driver's license program. I think
Thank
that's
you. We're thrilled.
really, for what Jan was talking about, the work that Ken and Brittany do, the outreach team, that's just another component to it. I think
Yeah.
that
It's-
helps.
It's really fun to see their names on we haven't filled out an application, but we often see, the social workers, these officers.
That's terrific.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll move into our workshop items this evening. And the first item is the request to purchase a 3D laser scanner for the police department. Welcome, Chief Ventura.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council.
Oh, you got up here and they're all leaving.
Wow. It's really,
Judge, no, she didn't.
this is really exciting. You're going to miss,
Oh, she,
I thought it was exciting.
gee,
There they go. Kathy's here.
what can we say? Jonathan, wow.
Way to clear
the
a room.
Yeah. That's a first for me. Usually we fill the room. Again, good evening. I am here to request the purchase of a 3D scanner. And you might be asking yourself, what is a 3D scanner and why do we need to purchase one? A 3D laser scanner is a piece of equipment that comes out and helps us survey a crime scene or an accident scene. This request comes to us specifically. We've had a number of fatality collisions in this city this year. And traditionally, how we would respond to these is we would work with our partner agencies who have the technical expertise and equipment to come to the scene and assist us in processing that scene. And that was helpful in many ways. Not only do they have the equipment and the expertise, but many hands make lighter work, and these are very intensive scenes to process. Recently, what we've experienced, however, is with recent challenges in law enforcement across the state and across the country, is the partners that we've relied on have no longer become available, and that's really put us in a bind. Historically, we would use State Patrol, and they've been getting short for some time. Then we switched over to county. County hasn't been available, and then we went to Marysville, and now Marysville is as bad off as everybody else. So now we're finding ourselves in this position. What do? We can close down, we could try to close down these highways for extended periods of time. We can consult or contract with private engineering firms, which would quickly outpace the cost of the equipment itself. And it's very hard unless you have somebody on contract already to get somebody to come out at 3 o'clock in the morning and do what we're asking to do. So that kind of puts some liability on us. There is a standard for prosecution, especially when it comes to the fatality collision investigations. But on a side note, the equipment also could help us in other crime scene processing. Let's say you had a homicide inside an apartment dwelling or something else. The same equipment that we would use at the collision scenes would be useful to process those other crime scenes as well. So in essence, there's some new equipment that came out recently. The company that I'm looking at is called Faro. And what we like about Faro is they've designed equipment that's law enforcement friendly that our partner agencies are already using. There's other companies that do it. They're very competitive in price. But Faro recently launched a new product that cost over $100,000. So there's a unique opportunity in the market right now to buy gently used equipment, or previously owned equipment, we'll call it. It's very technical equipment. It's very expensive equipment. So this isn't something that these companies throw on the back of a truck and drive around. It's very well cared for. And so we've been working with the manufacturer direct to see if we could get a line on some pre-owned equipment that they would extend a warranty to us and basically sell at a discounted rate that we could train some of our users to work on. Then as these other agencies come back online, assuming they do come back online, then we would have a better partnership with them as well. So if their technical expert wasn't available, then maybe we could lend ours and vice versa, because these scenes still need all of those people. If you're okay, I have a 3-minute video. I can show you what the technology looks like. It's a lot better than hearing me talk about it. I think you'd have a much better understanding of what it does and why it's important.
My name is Brian Wangler, and I'm with the Larimer County Sheriff's Office. I work in the crime lab. One of the things that I was tasked with doing was to find a better way of documenting our crime scenes in a way that will allow us to reproduce it later for the court, for the judge, the juries. In the past, how we would document crime scenes would be through the use of cameras and photography and a pencil and pen diagram, putting pertinent pieces of evidence on the graph paper and measuring where that piece of evidence was, 24 feet 8 inches, and then I would go to another wall, take another measurement from that wall. So I see my 31.1, and then I would go from another wall, 13 feet 8 and 3/8. Downside of that was that you only saw things in a two-dimensional surface. So what I have here is the Faro Focus 3D crime scene scanner. What the scanner does is that it emits an IR laser from this side of the scanner. That laser hits this spinning mirror. That laser will spin on that axis, but it will also spin on this axis. The laser can then map everything that it sees and essentially show the entire scene in 3D. The scan size total is over 11 million points compared to just the 1 point that I would get using the single laser. In addition to the laser points, it's also doing photography, and it overlays the scan points over the top of the photography. I can move around so I can see things from different aspects. I can take linear measurements from one point to another, or I can take what's called area measurements, get an exact square footage of all the floor space within the lab. If it's something that we forgot to take a measurement at the scene, with the data, I can do that. What the scanner allows me to do is establish trajectories of bullets much more accurately than I may have done in the past. If I have a bullet defect that goes through a wall, what I can do is I can place that rod into that bullet defect. The software looks for the exact center of where those spheres are, which is right on the axis of that trajectory rod, and map that trajectory digitally all the way back to where the shot may have came from. This allows us much greater accuracy and much more simplicity. There are programs out there that allow us to do animations. What you're seeing is actually two different scans. One scan of the scene itself, and then a second scan that I did of the suspect vehicle. And what we're trying to show in this case is the similarities between the front end damage of the vehicle and where it lines up with the gate. I appreciate the fact that I was nominated and eventually selected for a recipient of the Innovation Award. I just love doing the scans. A great opportunity to be able to do what I do day after day.
So just to put this in perspective, on Sunday night, we had a very serious hit and run where somebody was actually fully thrown into the air and did multiple rotations and landed on the road. We had nobody to come out and work that scene. We were literally doing what the guy was showing there, laying down tape strips and handwriting with digits and numbers. So what I'm asking the council to consider is, like I said, we're in a unique opportunity because there's a new product that's been released. There's an option that we can get this pre-owned product. We're currently in negotiations to bring the product down to a price that we can afford. What I would propose is that we have a drug seizure fund and we have an asset forfeiture fund where we take in felony property, and if it's when the cases reach their disposition, we can convert that property sometimes into cash or other means. So we have roughly $42,000 in that account right now that's not designated towards anything. With a little bit of our training budget, I would propose that for a price not to exceed $45,000, that if the opportunity comes up to purchase this equipment used, that we do so and then start training our officers to use it, just to be better prepared for our next incident. And it does fit perfectly because with the drug seizure money, because of the last two fatality collisions we had were very much drug related. So I think that justifies that purchase. And because of the price of obtaining this equipment used, I think it also meets, and it's been reviewed by the city attorney to meet a special market condition that for the purchase at this price. Retail on this, if we were just to go buy it right now, just retail, it's over $70,000 for this version, over $100,000 for the new version that was just released. But I'll stand for questions.
I think it looks fantastic.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
Just curiosity, Jonathan, if once you got the okay for this, how long would it take you to get that, then train people?
The training is, we would try to get it as soon as possible, and to be honest, I'm trying to negotiate the price down to, by hosting the training. That's how I'm getting closer to this $45,000 training, is because we can bring in some other people from outside the area, but probably within the next couple months for sure. Part of it's obtaining the equipment. When I wrote this, there was 2 available and they sold. That's how fast they sell. But I do have the rep that I'm working with he's willing to try to upsell some other companies and offer them trade-in value. So I think the market condition still exists.
Okay, good.
Is the training, the utilization of this kind of new tool, which looks way more technical than the tape measures you're currently using?
Yeah.
Is it dependent on how often the officers use it to retain that training knowledge?
I would imagine there's part of that, but we've also recently designated a traffic officer, and part of that designation is they are key to investigating those. But as you can see, the real push for this is those fatality collisions, because that scanner can scan in about 10 minutes what would take us all night on the scene. But in addition to that traffic officer, like what you saw there was he mapped that whole room in just a matter of minutes. So every major crime scene we go to, we could do those rooms. So we would train not only the traffic officer, but our detectives. And like I said, we've used county call out and Marysville call out on some of our calls. They would be doing the same for us if we were available to do it. So yes, it's perishable skills. If they don't use it, they will lose it. I think we have plenty of opportunity to use it, and we can train as many people as we can. They do offer an online version of training that's about 3 days of online training, but I think we would get the most of in-person training. And one other feature that I don't know if you noticed there, but let's say you forgot to take a measurement at the scene. It's like 3D scale accurate, that you could go back and go, that would click here, click there, and now you got that measurement. It also captures the evidence. You might have forgot something was not even marked it as evidence. You can go back and look at that 3D diagram later and I didn't even notice that there before. We've seen instances of people go back years later and go, oh my gosh, there's key evidence that we missed at the time, and now it's documented. So does that answer the question?
Yeah, that does. Thank you very much. Does anybody have any other questions? Jan?
I just going to say this is absolutely incredible, fantastic. I wish we could have it tomorrow. And I'm going to say this, I don't have a problem using our general fund to pay for it at all. And if it comes down to it actually costing more, I'll make that motion.
I'm sure
because
the chief will come back and let us know. I do applaud you coming to us and putting a funding package
I
together.
try to make it hard to say no.
Yes, I know you do. Would you appreciate that very much, Chief? Yvonne?
I think this is great, and I'm excited to see this. And I have a couple of questions. So just on the top, it says that 54,000, but you're hoping to price it at 45.
Mhm.
But the estimate, is it including all those optional items with like the 52,000 at the top and then?
Yes, when you're
what would you
looking,
be, like-
I'm sorry.
No, I just wanted to clarify like those optional items that,
The optional items, part of the optional items is, I don't know why it's listed as optional. Part of it is the software. If we don't have the software to run it, we could take the measurements, but we wouldn't be able to look at it. So even though it says optional, it's not really optional. Probably the most optional thing on those additional items is the in-person training versus, having access to an online training. But yeah, most of the things on there really aren't optional in the sense that you would think would be optional. I had the same questions when I was working on this myself.
and then just knowing software and understanding that it changes very quickly.
Right.
How, it says here the complete care for 2 years, but is that including any upgrades, or do you have to, how much is it extra, like, what
There-
would the maintenance be on this yearly?
What they're trying to do, especially with their new equipment, like I said, it's over $100,000, and this is pretty much standard with all of our vendors. They're really trying to encourage you to move to a subscription plan. So eventually, that's what, when the license would run out, we would have to consider moving to that. There's some advantages to owning the software up front, because you own it, but like you said, updates could make it obsolete. We'd still be able to use it for some time if we can purchase it that way. But like you noticed, they really want to force us to that subscription plan, and part of that negotiation, they're wanting us to get onto the subscription plan. So if we paid into the subscription plan, then the data that you own, you still own that data, but you just wouldn't be able to really go back and manipulate it if that subscription was to lapse. So I don't know if that answers your question.
It does.
Yeah, but they would prefer a subscription, and that would get our initial cost down, but in the long term, we're stuck to that subscription. But if we decide to upgrade, like say this lasts us 5 to 10 years and we want to update the equipment, we won't have the option. It'll have to be subscription based for the software.
Which will mean the software is always up to date, so it's got
That's the
plus sides.
plus
to that,
side.
too. Yeah. Michelle?
It's terrific. I think that it's so efficient, and I was thinking along the lines of Jan too, like what if you couldn't get it for the price that you requested? We wouldn't want to miss that opportunity, right? So
No, I
we would
appreciate that.
Definitely want to make sure that we.
I appreciate the support. I'm motivated negotiator right now, and like I said, I make it easy, and I think we'll be okay at this price. Even if we have to go to the subscription, that'll just be an additional cost down the road.
I think that's been our track record with you, Chief. You do a lot of research before you bring something forward, and you're very sure of what you're asking for. So
Well, it'll take a budget amendment, but essentially it's almost budget neutral, to be honest,
Right.
with those funds that weren't designated to anything else.
So I would just ask that, after, if the council approves this next, January 5th at our council meeting, that you put it in your monthly report that we get, so we know when you do, that you were successful and you were able to take possession of.
Yeah,
the tool.
absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up is a resolution rejecting the bid protest letter to the 2022 Utility Pavement Preservation Bid Award. Jim Kelly.
Madam Mayor, council members, before I start, let me apologize for my tardiness. I'm taking the vacation hours this week. It's my turn to run the duck dash, and at the last minute, there's so many things to do. So I was sitting down to a plate of ribs, and Chris texted me, and she goes, "I don't see you on TV."
So either you're telling us that you're bringing us ribs, or we have to buy duck dash tickets, I'm not sure.
I already bought mine.
Well, this item that's being brought before you is a request to enter into a resolution rejecting a bid protest letter from SRV. The City of Arlington, every year, as you know, for the past 8 or 9 years, we have a utility and pavement preservation program. We bid our 2022 UPP program, and we received 2 bids. One bid was from Reese Construction in the amount of $2,919,092.37, and another bid from SRV Construction in the amount of $2,931, $374.40. The difference between those two bids was $12,282.03. SRV protested the bid by a claim which they thought that they had a standing on, which wasn't. RCW 30.060 requires that if you have structural steel going in on a project, that within 48 hours you have to provide who your structural steel contractors are going to be. We have no structural steel in this project. It's a paving project, and it's also a water utility main project. So our city engineer, deputy public works director, has worked with Steve Peifel, and they drafted a resolution rejecting the bid put forth by SRV, and then allowing the city to move forward with awarding the contractor to the tree low bidder, Reese Construction.
All right, thank you. Jan has a
Yeah,
question?
I have a question, and I did read all of it. And I know what they're saying about the structural steel and rebar, and I guess what, they had the same RFP.
They did.
And if it wasn't in theirs, why would they say it was in Reese's? I mean,
I don't know. I mean, if you recall, about 4 years ago, Reese Construction and SRV came in, same thing, but they were a lot closer. They were $1,300 off. And SRV did the same thing. They protested the bid on some non-existing technicality, and we had to go through the resolution to reject it.
oh, okay, okay. I mean, they were pretty specific, and that was, if they had an RFP, you know,
And they know there's no rebar in the project.
yeah.
Right. And you thoroughly ran this through the legal, even
Yep.
though the motion says by subject to final review by the city attorney?
I have reviewed and I drafted the resolution, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions on this one?
Just thank you for the education this morning on going through this whole process, so appreciate that.
And you got the bid.
Yeah, I
Good.
did. Because I was thinking like you, Jan, I'm like, why would they? So, yeah, thank you very much.
It's just, they hope and they see if they can get us to reject all the bids, so they have a second bite at the apple.
Oh, okay, so
Remember
it
60?
wouldn't have automatically gone to them.
No.
You would have canceled them and started over. Okay, now that makes a
Do
whole
you
lot more
remember
sense.
67th Avenue Phase 3?
Very well.
Yeah.
We had to bid it 3 times.
Oh, okay.
So now we'll move on to our next item so Jim can get back to his ribs, where hopefully they're still warm, which is the low bid award for the 2022 utility pavement preservation.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor and council members. The city of Arlington, we prepared a bid package to do pavement preservation and utility improvements for the summer of 2022. We went out to public bid for that. We received several bids. The low bid was submitted by Reese Construction in the amount of $2,919,092.37. The bidder, Reese Construction, was qualified, and he is approved to move forward and award the bid to. We are recommending that we award the bid package for the 2022 UPP project to Reese Construction.
Just a quick question on your cab here. It said that we budgeted $2.7 million for this project. Does that include all of the funds, the utility as well as the
Yes.
TBD?
Yes.
Okay, so this will be 219,000 over.
Yes, it will be.
Okay, thank you.
Now, the 2022 pavement, that's on our website, correct?
That is on our
In your-
website.
Yeah, I thought Yvonne, if she got a chance to go in there and see all there are,
For the transportation.
yeah, that will show all the preservation. I need to do that so I can, because people will start asking.
There, we try to keep our capital projects well up on our project website, all of
Okay,
them.
yeah.
And one of the issues is, when we budgeted this, we did this probably about 16 months ago, and
Part of the biennial budget process.
I know,
Yeah.
so asphalt price is skyrocketed.
Oh, my gosh.
Ductile iron pipe is gone through the roof.
Yeah. No, thank you for explaining that. That's a
Thank
good
you.
point.
Are there things that we haven't won't be able to get a hold of, because I know it isn't just the prices going up, it's the fact that we can't get the product.
That is going to be a question. That's why when we had availability for the Washington trucking project to get our hands on 900 lineal feet of 12-inch ductile iron pipe, we jumped on it. So,
Okay, well, good luck.
thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll move on to our next item, which is the resolution to accept funds for the Housing Action Plan Implementation Grant. Mark Hayes.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. So as you might remember, we, this grant has been a long time coming. I originally applied for a TODI grant, which was a Transit-Oriented Development Implementation Grant. That went to 10 other jurisdictions that had light rail. So we missed out on that opportunity. There was an opportunity then to apply for the HAPPY grant, which is the Housing Action Plan Implementation. And so in 2021, we created and adopted the Housing Action Plan for the city. One of the action items in the Housing Action Plan was a value capture program that we identified. And so with this grant funding, we're actually working towards that value capture program. So that's our obligation, is that we will create some type of a value capture program in order to utilize that in order to build affordable housing. But it's also all transit-oriented, bus transit-oriented development. So this will be applied primarily in the Smoky Point community. So if you remember earlier on, I wanted to try and do a sub-area plan for Smoky Point, but Commerce had other ideas and they weren't allowing me to do that. So we had to obligate ourselves to a program that we would actually adopt, pardon me.
And so this action you're bringing forward tonight is just for the council to accept the grant funds.
That is correct, although I did give you the contract. Commerce sent me the
You did, but
contract.
The council won't act on this workshop till next Tuesday night.
No, but I just wanted you to have that so I can move that forward. so,
Perfect, okay, thank you.
Yep.
I might be over-explaining tonight, but I'm trying to help Yvonne come along. Yeah.
So the value, whatever you said, could
Value
you
capture.
refresh, could you refresh my memory exactly what that is?
The grant,
No.
The value capture.
oh, the value capture.
Yeah, thank you.
So one of the ways to do value capture is if you do investments of public infrastructure. So let's take Smoky Point Boulevard.
Okay.
And what we're working on with the Smoky Point Corridor Plan. If we were to finance that, construct it, what it does then is it creates value in the property around it and entices development to occur premised upon those improvements. So in doing so, the property values rise. It gives us the ability then to capture that increased valuation in the area and then get to feed that back into public infrastructure again. So it's a circle that's created by your initial investment.
Okay, good, thank you.
But there's multiple tools in order to do that. So we are going to explore the multiple tools for the value capture programs and then decide on which one fits Arlington the best.
Yeah.
Great. All right, any other questions on the grant? Okay, we'll move to your next item, Mark, which is the professional services agreement with OTAC for the comprehensive plan.
Great, thank you very much, Madam Mayor. So as you might recall, during our spring council retreat, we had discussed this at length with the comprehensive plan coming up. And then I shared that we did select our consultant in order to move forward with the comprehensive plan update. So this is a professional services agreement in order to allow for that work to begin.
Good. Is he ready for questions? He quit talking.
Sure.
Okay. I just want to thank you for actually hiring a consultant, because I cannot say enough times, Vision 2050 and the Transportation Policy Board at PSRC, what they have changed is so dramatic and will impact every department. And they've changed and added so many things that are very crucial and will make a difference on how much money we get in transportation dollars. And to have a professional person, and especially with all of our departments short personnel, this is going to be perfect for us. And I really appreciate the fact that you went out and got someone that, you know, we've used before, and this will be great. My only question was, it listed how much it was gonna cost, but it doesn't show where the expenditures are coming from, so I was just curious if that was.
I'll address that, because I missed that on the front of the
Oh,
cab when I was
okay,
reviewing
okay.
it, so I apologize. It is a not to exceed number of $390,000 in the contract. This was in the capital budget that we talked about at the retreat, and we had budgeted $400,000 for it. So there's more than enough in that
Yeah.
budget to cover it, and we'll update that before next week.
Oh,
Right,
okay.
that was my question, is could we get the cab
Yep.
completed?
Yeah, I missed it, I apologize.
Okay, thank you.
That happens, okay. Any other questions?
Oh, looks like it's all there.
It does, there's a
Looks
lot
pretty
there.
complete.
Wait till they get started.
All right, so our final two items this evening are our monthly reports, or quarterly reports, excuse me. And Mark, since you're up here, we'll start with the Community Economic Development second quarter report.
Great, thank you very much, Madam Mayor. So we'll start off with the staffing report, and I will tell you that with the cab being a little bit incomplete, this is one of the drawbacks of not having enough staff.
Yeah.
So, you know, because we have to keep on a timeline to keep cabs moving forward, all of that. There's not a lot of time to put into creating those cabs and giving as much information as maybe council would like to see. So if there are questions, definitely ask those, because it sometimes get missed in the hurried event of trying to get those things done and out the door. So as you might recall, back in April, we had a departure of Rawan, who was our planner too. We still have not been able to fill that position. And then with our development services manager position, with Nova vacating that, we haven't been able to fill that role either. So there will be some drawbacks here. There will be some delays on things that are going forward, and I just want to make sure council is fully aware of that. So if you happen to hear from developers who aren't getting their projects out the door as rapidly as they'd like to see, that's why. We will always meet our legal requirements, but we've set such a high bar for getting projects out and being expedient in our permitting and processing, that this is going to come to a shock to a lot of people, because we're now going to have to retract back and hit a normal processing.
This isn't limited to just us. It's a staffing issue across, everywhere. So we're all competing for the same people, and as it turns out, particularly in the public sector, all we're doing is trading people back and forth.
Well, are our salaries comparable to other cities?
We check our salaries.
Okay,
Yeah.
because
Yeah, we-
I know what you're saying, because they are hiring. I worry about losing even more of our personnel.
Let's let Mark, I want to really
Okay,
let him
yeah.
keep going and get continuity in his report.
And a good point, because there aren't the people there to backfill these positions. Planners are in high demand, engineers are in high demand, so, and if you're just poaching from one jurisdiction to the other, that's all you're doing is just playing that game. So there really has to be, the job market has to be able to fulfill those positions, and right now, it just isn't capable of doing so. So we'll work our way through that and wait and see what happens here in the coming months. Contracts, so OTAC, the one that you just saw this evening, is for a comprehensive plan and periodic update. The next contract will be with the Happy Grant, and we already did our consultant selection for that. Blue Line is the consultant that we've selected in order to do the Happy Grant for us. Blue Line is also the consultant that we selected in order to do our housing action plan. So they're fully aware of Arlington's needs and where we're going with our housing action. The other thing we're working on right now is today was actually the day of the letter of intents to be deadline. And so we sent out an RFP for conceptual design and civil engineering for the food truck court, which is ARPA funded. And so the food truck court will be established out on the airport business park in would be the northeast corner quadrant of that intersection. And so we're working our way through that. Once we get a consultant on board, we'll start to put together those designs. The RFP required 2 conceptual designs to move forward. So once we have those, then we'll go through a selection process and make sure we involve council and planning commission through that whole process. Challenges, like I said, staffing is our largest challenge right now. Paul was out at the office on Friday and saw projects that have just come in. I mean, I've got 2 desks full of projects that are stacked up. And now that it's going, doing both land use and civil reviews of those projects, getting them out the door. So, but things haven't slowed up at all. These are all new projects. These aren't things that are in the queue. So, CED hosted a meet and greet with the OTAC team. That happened quite a few weeks ago now. Everyone that was there at the meet and greet was very impressed with the OTAC, their staffing, and their approach to the comprehensive plan. And we're meeting again with them tomorrow to go over and fine tune the schedule and work out some of those details to move forward. As for our GIM meetings have been kind of weird. They kind of went off last year down to a low, and then they picked back up again, and now they're back on kind of a level period. So it's kind of strange the way that I think people are kind of cautious right now with the interest rates going up and all of the other, invariables out there that people are kind of concerned about. So we aren't seeing quite as many right this time. One that is coming up, we just met with them again last week, was the First Baptist Church up on French Avenue. So it'll be on French and 5th. They own quite a few parcels on Dunham, as well as the parcel that fronts French Street, or multiple parcels there. They're looking to demolish the house on Dunham, enlarge their parking lot, and put in a ministry building on the Dunham side. So that'll be moving forward here, and we'll keep you abreast of what's occurring there. Other meetings we've had people that are coming in that are just really not wanting to follow rules and guidelines. They come in, they have a piece of property, this is what I want to do with this piece of property, and we go, well, you can't really do that. Here are the things that we suggest you can do to move forward. And when they can't get their way with the sketch that they brought in and get that to move forward, they kind of go out the door and we don't see them again. So we've had several of those here over the last couple of months. I apologize for the fact that this development activity file did not open. Did it not open again?
No, it did not.
It's really weird because
If you go online to SharePoint to Mark's report, it opens there. It just doesn't open. There's no active links in the
well,
council.
it's weird because
packet.
I went into SharePoint and actually created the link and embedded it, and it would open for me.
Yeah.
So
I could open it on SharePoint.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Because I went and I couldn't, so, okay.
yeah, so I'll just give you the link to SharePoint for the updates from here on out, because apparently it's not working this way. And then planning commission items, we had a building, went through a design review called R&W. They create a very interesting building material. It's a siding, and I should have brought an example of this, but it's really unique. And it's a composite, so if you know what Trex decking is, that's a composite. This is different. This doesn't have the wood product in it. It's all synthetic, and so it's really impervious to anything. And they make it in all sorts of different colorings and wood types. Really interesting material.
So is it like truck styling type?
Kind of. It's kind of molded like a truck's deck would be, but it actually has an interlocking, it's not a tongue and groove, it's actually a snap lock. And so it's really impenetrable to elements getting into it.
That'd be nice.
Really impressive stuff. I mean, and they're going to side their building with it when they build it. So this building is going to be built on, along Arlington Valley Road as part of that development up there. So we're really looking forward to seeing it be constructed. Arlington Air North, which is a smart cap project. We went through the design review and approved their conceptual designs for their buildings for the Arlington Air North. Brown Bear Car Wash. It's been kind of interesting. They want to do this and we go, no. They want to do this, we say no. Finally, they said, okay, we give up. We will do this. And so they have a fairly decent looking building, although it is still a drive-through car wash, but they did follow, the guidelines we put in place and have,
Where is it at?
so this will be, where Heritage Bank is at 43rd. Heritage Bank is out in front of Walmart. So 43rd runs back into Walmart.
Okay.
There's a parcel behind the Heritage Bank between them and Walmart, and that's where the car wash will
Oh,
go.
I thought that was tribal land.
Nope,
but
that's on the
next
west
door.
side.
Oh,
Right,
next
this will
door,
be
okay.
directly south.
And there's
Okay.
plenty of room, because they're like a busy car wash, right?
Yeah, they've got a double stack lane in it, and so they have credit card kiosks, so that you pull in double stack and you put your card in, and they rotate the lanes. So one lane will go through, the next lane will shift, the next lane. Yeah, so we're still looking at the civil portion of that, to making sure that the stacking and queuing for the car wash works and not impact 43rd. So
Yeah.
we still have a few details, but the building went through a design review, and we were finally happy with that, so. And then, of course, the AMC Title 20 Draft Code Amendments presentation. And we do have a joint council meeting coming up between the Planning Commission and council in July. So we'll be able to go through all the amendments. And that pretty much wraps it up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for
Thank you.
you letting us know that it's busy out there.
It's busy.
Hoping that
Come by the office, you can see.
James finds you staff to fill those vacancies.
I am certainly hope so. We're hopeful
Expeditiously.
that will occur also. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Okay, and our final report this evening is the May financial report. Kristen Garcia.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and good evening, members of council, and welcome to our newest council member. Our sales tax revenues continue to be strong. Construction is still playing a major role in that. One of the things I did want to talk about briefly in relation to construction sales tax, Paul had mentioned we had brought to council at the retreat a fairly robust capital facilities plan, had a variety of different funding sources. One of those funding sources was construction sales tax, about 4.7 million out of our construction sales tax would go to those capital facilities. So what I'd like to do, right now, the construction sales tax is sitting in the general fund. So what I would like to do is take the amount that's designated for the capital projects that we had presented to council, is move that into the capital facilities fund to make sure that that money's set aside and then committed for the projects that we'll be including in our biennial budget. So unless there's any objection from council, I'll go ahead and do that before I close the books at the end of June.
Yeah, I'm good with that. That's our typical way of doing it.
Yes. A couple other things I wanted to note, because the budget to actual variances were quite large, so I just wanted to give an explanation to council. In our intergovernmental revenue stream in the general fund, that is mostly consists of grants and state shared revenues. The category is about 28% of budget, which it's not a cause for concern. We have a couple state shared revenues like the PUD privilege tax, which only is received one time per year. It usually comes in third quarter. And then we have our liquor excise tax and liquor profits, which are also received quarterly. So those will true up by the end of the year. So it looks low now, but by by the end of third quarter, those revenues will be trued up. We also had budgeted for a Department of Commerce grant for Phase 2 of the Innovation Center. Once that project is complete, then we'll submit just for one reimbursement for all the project costs. So we're just waiting to pay some of those final bills. So that'll also be coming through. A couple of amendments that I'm going to add to my monthly report, to my list of amendments that we'll formally take care of in the fall, but I just wanted to give council a heads up on. The Safe Build contract, as they do the plan review services and CED. As Mark mentioned, he just has a big pile of projects that came in. This contractor, these expenses are really hard to predict the level of activity and the timing of those expenses. We do budget for that expense every year. We budgeted $500,000 for those services. Right now, we're about $750,000. So we'll need to true that up, and those services are fully paid for by permit revenues, so the increased cost is fully paid for by the increase in
It's a
revenues.
pass-through.
So it's just a wash, but it does impact our expense budget, so wanted to know that would be coming. Also related, again, to the Phase 2 of the Innovation Center project, a portion of that project was budgeted in 2021. We did budget also in 2022, but the project actually didn't start, or we didn't start incurring expenses until 2022. So I'll be bringing an amendment in the fall to just move that 2021 budget into 2022, so that'll true everything up and get the budget aligned with when the expenses occurred. The cemetery fund will also need an amendment for the transfer to the endowment fund. If you recall, 10% of our lot sales get transferred to the endowment fund. Again, we do budget for that activity, but activity has kind of exceeded what we had initially projected. So we'll need to transfer more money than we thought. Again, that's the revenues are coming in, and so the transfer amount's higher. But we'll need to adjust for that in the budget.
So,
yes.
On that, since you're saying a higher level of activity and it's the cemetery fund, we've
Yes.
had more deaths this year.
More burials, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's through COVID. We probably don't know, do we?
2021 was very high as well, so
Yeah.
yeah. I know it's kind of a delicate, I don't like to mention higher revenues, and it's a delicate, but activity has been higher than it has been. Last couple of updates. Just wanted to update council on the Enterprise Fleet Program. You may recall last fall the council approved us to enter into a lease with Enterprise so we can more efficiently manage our fleet and hopefully save costs over time. So I just want to give you an update that we did program 16 vehicles to go onto the lease program for 2023. We have 9 of those vehicles ordered, and we should have the rest of them ordered by late summer, early fall. And just as a side note, Enterprise has been really great to work with. They've really walked us through very slowly and meticulously through the process. So they've been really good to work with so far. And the last thing I wanted to give you an update in is I did update the ARPA project summary that was in your packet. I updated that to reflect the list of projects that we had talked about at the council retreat, so the report looks a little bit differently. And just to let council know, we did fully obligate 100% of what our ARPA award was. And I plan in July to bring the list of ARPA projects along with the capital facility projects that we talked about at the retreat, just as a quick check-in. This is a reminder of what we covered at the retreat, because those then will translate into the 23 and 24 budget. So we're in the midst of building our budget, so I just want to touch base because they're such large dollar amounts that we're all on the same page before we continue and move forward with the budget. So that concludes my report for this evening.
That's great, Kristen. Maybe in the future, I really appreciate you updating the ARPA money in that, but we may need to have columns, because some of that money will be spent over 3 years.
Yes.
So I just want to keep aware, as when we see how much we budgeted, but we've only used a third of it, it's because we have 2 more years of budget in it.
Yes, that's great. I will do that for the update that I bring back in July to kind of put a timeline to those projects.
Okay,
Yes,
that'd be great.
Yes.
Any questions for Kristen?
No, she does such a
Offering a
great
stellar
job
report.
that she answers
She
all the
leaves-
questions in the presentation. Yeah, and I have to tell you, I've been super impressed. I mean, I've dealt with budgets my whole life, and I've never had anyone do it as thoroughly as you do, so thank you very
Oh,
much.
I was really
Thank you,
pleased to
Jan.
read in your report,
That's not rain, is it?
after that gorgeous
it
day
can't be.
today, I was really pleased to read in your report that it looks like you are having some success replacing the position that you were down, so.
I am, yes. I was a little worried. We had a small applicant pool, so it was a little concerning at the beginning, but we did have a couple strong candidates come out of that, and we've gone through the interview process, and I think we found someone that will be a really good fit, so, yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you, Jan, for those kind words. I appreciate that
You're
so
welcome.
much.
So at the end of every council meeting, we have a period where I ask for comments from council members. And for Yvonne, this is an opportunity if the council, someone on the council wants to see something come forward in a future workshop or something. It's like the ideal time for Paul and I to capture that, to get the right staff to put that together. So right now, I'll open it up for, I see Marilyn has her hand up. I hope I didn't miss you putting your hand up any earlier this evening, Marilyn. You're way at the back of the room.
I'm sure. I just wanted to see if we could bring up under our policies and guidelines, I guess it is, about remote meetings like Zooming in. And I was reading, I have it here, I was reading through all this, and it actually states that no more than 2 council members may attend via remote. So we probably need to adjust that. And then I wanted to discuss how we're doing with remote meetings. Now, I noticed tonight that if I had not been Zooming in, I don't think we would have had a quorum. I don't know if the others that are gone couldn't Zoom in because I Zoomed in first. So it's like there's good and bad with Zoom meetings. And so I just would like to sort out the one about 2 people at a time participating, and, talk about, right now it says 4 meetings per year, and so personally, you all know that I travel, but I've always tried to participate in all the 23 years I've been doing this. I've missed very few meetings. And so, like I said, it has value, and whether you want to leave it at 4 meetings or not, but if you have an illness or where you could still participate but not come down to a personal meeting, an in-person meeting. So I just wanted everyone to kind of think about all of the options, and maybe we could bring it up at a workshop.
So I think I'll talk really quick about it, and then, yes, if council would like to bring it up at a workshop, we certainly can. There's kind of 2 issues here. The first is the number of council members out at a meeting that are Zooming in. When we did do that policy, we did put 2 in. However, we've not been able to accomplish that, and it has to do with the interface between using YouTube to stream it so the public can view our meetings, and using Zoom so that the council member who's out can Zoom in, and it just doesn't work. It doesn't interface well. IT keeps working on it, but we haven't come up with a solution yet to add more Zoom, council members Zooming in than 1. So that's one piece of it. The other piece is whether you want to have allow more than what the policy says. That's totally up to council. It's a council policy. Council set that, and it was as a trial. And so now that we've been doing it for a while, if council feels they want to change that, it's just a matter of, yes, bringing it forward, and then we can redraft those however you would like.
I agree too, Marilyn, that like tonight, for example, with Heather and Deborah gone, I mean, yeah, if you couldn't have made it, we wouldn't have had a quorum to.
Right, well, it's a workshop, so we don't
So,
take
yeah, so
action,
we
and
wouldn't
I
have
think
to.
all the
Yeah,
ladies
yeah.
knew that.
Yeah.
But,
It could have been at any meeting, though. That could happen
Yeah.
either way.
yeah, we would make some adjustment if that was.
Steve and I talked about it before the meeting.
Okay, yeah, we'll bring that back, Marilyn. Are there any other comments from council members? Dawn?
Just my nuisance question about the striking and stuff. How are we looking on the scheduling?
I'll
for
find
striking?
out, and I can send some exact timing out on it. Jay hasn't filled me in on they've been working on it. I just don't know what the schedule is. It will take all summer. It's an all-summer project. to get
If
it
he could
picked
put
up.
that in his monthly M&O reports, that would
Will do
probably
that.
give Donna a way
Yeah.
to track
What was
it.
your question? I
The
mean-
ones for the crosswalk striping and
Oh,
all
okay.
the other,
I didn't hear you.
the
Okay.
striping in town.
No, I didn't either. I was going to
Yeah,
ask him
more,
what he said.
more importantly, the crosswalks.
Yeah.
I'd like to see them maybe at the top of the list.
Me too.
I had just,
Absolutely.
yeah, I had just a couple of things. I wanted to thank Jan and Heather for attending the District 1 Recovery Roadshow last week. It was very good. I sent you all an email today that I got from the
Yeah,
county
I
that
seen
showed the priorities of our citizens, and I was really pleased to see that they even had Spanish-speaking people in Arlington to be able to communicate with our residents who had Spanish as their native language. So I was
Yeah.
very, very happy about that. Our priorities came out as mental health, particularly with young people and making sure there's supports in the school system as we recover from COVID, and more capacity in our community for delivering services. I think that was all across the county in all districts, they were the same thing. And then a lot of things on workforce, looking for workforce development and supports for workforce. And I think we'll have some good news coming on that fairly shortly. So, and then I also wanted to remind the council members that tomorrow at 1 o'clock, we're doing a ribbon cutting on the Innovation Center or the lab at Arlington down the street. So I'm in a project that we started envisioning in 2014. And it's great to see it come to fruition and start to offer those support services to businesses. So I hope I see you there tomorrow.
Good.
And I guess I'll just ask Kathy this question. If we have any public that wants to make comment this evening, since you're the only public left. This would be a good time. All right. And Yvonne, congratulations on concluding your first official duties as a council person. We're happy to have you here. And that's all I have, Jen.
Oh, okay. Paul doesn't have anything.
No.
Okay, Madam Mayor, I move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.